Hello, and welcome back to Evolve Beyond Limits Academy. We are moving into activation 4. See, it feels so much better to say activation than module. So here we are. What have you learned about yourself in the last 3 activations? What is coming up for you? What is being rototilled to the surface? It's beautiful, no matter what it is. It's needed. It's necessary. It is a necessary piece of this process. This process of rediscovering who you are. 3 simple words that are not simple at all. Who are you? And that is what today's activation is all about. Who are you? When you think about the word identity, what do you think of? Jot a couple things down. What is your identity? What is the identity of others? And then I'm going to have you pause me in a second to write this down. You walk into a party. Somebody walks up to you, setting the stage, and they want you to tell them about you. They want you to tell them who you are. And I want you to take a minute to write down what you tell them. Hi, I'm Stacy, and I fill in the blank. You can pause and allow some time to fill in that blank. Don't skip this. It's important. Who are you? What did you write down? When somebody wants to know about you, what do you tell them? Who are you is actually a very loaded question. It's a pretty personal question to ask somebody right off the bat. And from my experience and all the work that I have done, most people struggle to answer this question. They can tell you what they do, but they really struggle to tell you who they are. Who are you on the surface is very different than who you are at your soul. At your soul, it's what makes you unique. It's what you bring to the world. We struggle to see ourselves through that lens. What's interesting is a lot of times when I've asked people in the past this question, one of the things that they tell me is, well, what kind of party is it? Oh, good question. Does it matter? It matters if you are changing who you are depending on the situation that you're in. It matters if who you are, if who you identify to be is your personas or your soul. I do not believe that you can do life right or wrong, but I do believe that you can live a life where you are either suffering You are simply surviving or you are thriving. And if you are thriving, there's a common denominator for people who are thriving in their life. They have discovered who they are once they remove all of the labels, all of the stories, and they take who they are. They take that divine blueprint that they were given that nobody else has, and they bring it into everything they do. They bring it into their relationships, their businesses, their careers, their hobbies, the parties that they show up to. They bring it into everything. They know who they are and they walk their life as that person, regardless of what's going on around them. Unfortunately, most people do it the other way around. They determine where they want to be, and then they start to mold who they are to fit the circumstance that they're put in. And they will put on different masks depending on the people that they are around or depending on how they have been told they are supposed to act to be successful in a certain situation, to be accepted by a certain group of people. And this is exactly the problem. This is what leaves you feeling so disconnected from yourself, your life, and your purpose. Because every time you subscribe to a story that does not belong to you, every time you put on another mask because you think you need to be somebody else to be accepted and loved in the world that you are living in, the further away from yourself you become. There becomes this disconnect, and you can feel it. You may not be able to explain it, but you can feel it. You can feel it. So, who are you? Without the labels, who are you without everything that you are trying to create on a daily basis? Who are you without being a mom? Who are you without your career? Who are you if you take away all of the labels? All of the boxes that you have put yourself in? Who are you without your belief systems, without your religion? All of the things that leave you boxed in. Who are you? Do you know? This is your divine blueprint. This is what you came to share with the world. This is what makes you different than anyone else on the planet. And that is what I so deeply desire to help you find within yourself, because we need you. You are here for a purpose. And the faster that we can uncover that, the better off this world is going to be. We need you. Every single person on this planet is part of a giant puzzle. Giant puzzle. And there are no two puzzle pieces that are the same. That would be a weird puzzle, hard to put together. Everybody plays their unique part. And if we can remove all of the stories and the labels and all the things that are stopping us from fully living that, if we can pull off the masks, then each person can step in to their unique puzzle piece and they can own it, and it will change the world. So answer this. Who are you at your best self? You know that feeling when you show up as your best self. When life is going amazing, when life is going great, when things are just flowing in your life and you're like, oh, this feels so good. Who is she? Who you are is your true self. It's your vibe. It's what makes you unique. And honestly, you probably see glimpses of her every so often, and you really, really, really like her. But you shove her back in her box before she can be found out, before too many people see her. Because at some point in your life, it was placed on you that it is unsafe for her to be here in her fullest expression. Who were you as a child before you were taught to be an adult? Who were you before people started to tell you that you weren't good enough just the way you are? Understand that these can be masks that you have put on over the years. And I don't like to use bad and good, but they're not necessarily like you wouldn't look at them as like these horrible things because they're not. And if they are keeping you from moving forward, then it is time for you to tell them to F off. There is an opposition to every aspect of who we are. There is a duality, there is a polarity. Meaning that every aspect of who we truly are can use for expansion and it can be used to move you forward and propel you forward, or it can be used for destruction. And it's about recognizing and owning and accepting every piece of who you are and learning how to use it as the catalyst and the spark to get where you desire to go. So I want you to take a second and I want you to write down one good quality about who you are. What is something that you love about yourself? Pause it if you need more time. And then I want you to write down what you might consider a negative quality about who you are. What is something you don't love about yourself? Okay. Who decided that that is good or bad or positive or negative? Understand that you are the one that assigns those labels to yourself. Your true self is innately good, is innately good. So if the things that you see about yourself, more than likely, they're masks if you look at them from a negative aspect. So what are some labels that I tend to see people with? One of them, these are things that I used to label myself as. And you'll see that they're not bad things. However, they were keeping me stuck. So I want you to, maybe you'll resonate with these, maybe you won't. One of them is being independent. My label of being independent meant that I never asked for help. I thought I had to do life alone, and life became so much harder. And when I realized that I could be independent and have people in my corner and have people to support me and not do life alone, oh my God, everything opened up for me. But I was so attached to that label that I struggled and I suffered for no reason. I also, one time, I labeled myself as a high achiever. Being a high achiever has gotten me places. And it also, I grew up too fast. And I stripped away a lot of the fun in my life because I was so ambitious and I was such a high achiever that I thought there was no room for it. Perfectionist. This is one I see a lot of people resonate with. I'm a perfectionist. Perfectionists there's a lot of good. And maybe being a perfectionist has gotten you to where you are today. And it can really get in the way of you showing up fully without fear of it not being perfect. So I want you to think about where you are not showing up fully in your life. Where do you feel resistance to be your most authentic self? Where is it? Where do you step in and you feel like a fraud? Consider that. What is stopping you or holding you back from showing up as your highest self all the time? And I want to talk about one more thing in today's activation: forgiveness. Hmm. We've brought up a lot of things in the last 4 activations, and there's probably a big piece of you that is sitting there going, oh my gosh. We cannot create a new future if we are stuck in our past, which is why forgiveness is such a huge piece of this puzzle and why I need to touch on it now. Because in order for you to move forward, in order for you to step forward as your highest self, as your fullest expression, you're going to have to forgive. You are going to have to forgive and release your past self. You are going to have so much gratitude for her for getting you here. And you will also need to forgive her for any of the mistakes or so-called mistakes that she has made. Forgiveness is quite literally the greatest gift you can give yourself. It is through forgiveness and compassion that you can have unimaginable joy. And what's so interesting about forgiveness is that it's actually a lot easier for people to forgive others rather than themselves. I want you to think about your past self like an ancestor. You would not beat up your ancestors for the decisions that they have made because maybe they didn't know better. But now that you know better, you get to change it. So I want you to write yourself a couple of letters. Okay, this is your activation work. First, I want you to write yourself a letter. I want you to write your past self a letter. The girl, the woman that is sitting here today, I want you to write her a letter. And I want you to thank her and remind her how amazing she is. She has gotten you this far, and you need to be so grateful for that. So I want you to express that fully to her. How much you appreciate and adore the version of you that has taken you to this point in your life. She is amazing. Acknowledge her for that. Acknowledge her for all that she has done and how she has gotten you here. And to move forward, you're going to choose to let go of her rules, of her beliefs, of her actions, because the evolved version of you is getting ready to rewrite all of those things and to bring you closer to your fullest potential. And the reason that I'm even bringing this up is because I watch it happen all the time. Women don't make decisions based on who they are today and what's possible for them and the person that they're becoming. They make decisions based on who they used to be. You talk yourself out of doing things because maybe who you used to be failed at it once. So you make the decision based on her and not who you are today. I have this quote that I just love. And it's the way to your most extraordinary life is to become a blank slate and allow your dreams and desires to show up because they will. But not if you are holding on to your past. So this is where your second letter comes in. And there will be a couple of meditations tied to this. I want you to write yourself a forgiveness letter. Let go. Forgive your past self for anything that you are carrying around with you, that you've been carrying around for way too long. It's too heavy. You don't need to carry it. And if you want to, do extra credit, who else do you need to forgive in your life? Make a list. Write the letter. You don't have to send it. Some people do. Some people have sent these letters. Some people just write them and they in a full moon ceremony, they release them, they burn them, they let them go. So often we spend so much time stuck and spinning in conflict rather than creating opportunity in our life. And this is about being willing to release, to receive. You must let go of the life you have to step into the life that you desire. You can't have both. You can't have one foot in one life and one foot in the new life. Let go and welcome what's next for you. Who would you be? And what would you do if you had no reason to believe it wouldn't work out? Who would you become if you stopped telling the tales that have defined you until now? What if you could become a mystery even to yourself? These are all questions I want you to sit with. Write them down. Feel it. If you want to create a ceremony around this release and this forgiveness, do so. Make it symbolic. Make this a night you will not forget. Let it activate you. Okay. Until our next activation, I will see you on the flip side.